All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Mabon, and I am the 2021 Board Chair for the Corona Chamber. Today is a great day with some important updates ahead, and we appreciate you taking time to join us. I will be sharing the agenda with our 2020 Board Chair, Don Williamson. Donnie?
Thank you, Kim. Good morning, everyone. Today's event is sponsored by Norco College. Norco is a 2-year public institution of higher education, one of 3 colleges in the Riverside Community College District. They offer 64 locally or state-approved certificates and 8 associate degree options. You can currently earn a free certificate from Norco College through their extended learning program. Spring registration is now open. Our sincere thanks to Norco College for being a champion for higher education and serving our community so well for so long. Kim?
Thank you, Donnie. The Corona Chamber has partnered with the County of Riverside to provide free disposable masks to businesses. They are available in boxes of 50. All you need to do is contact the Chamber today to reserve your masks. We also have reusable masks that are for sale.
Our healthcare heroes continue to face huge challenges and fatigue. The Corona Chamber Foundation, in partnership with the Frontline Appreciation Group of Corona, has been collecting funds to provide meals of gratitude to these tireless workers. You can see on the screen some photos from the great work they are doing. Donations can be made at givebigcorona.com or by check, payable to the Chamber Foundation. No amount is too small. You can also text FLAG, F-L-A-G, to 71441 to have links sent directly to your phone. Kim.
We are excited to host the return of Master Trainer Paul Webb with his very popular sales and marketing performance training. Paul offers insights to business in both sales and customer service and will change the way you do business forever. This program is offered in partnership with the City of Corona. Register today.
The Corona Chamber has English and Spanish labor law posters in stock. Each member was mailed one for free. I received mine this week. Additional copies are available at a discounted rate. These are required by law to be posted and sent to any remote workers that you might have, and there is a fine if you cannot provide these. So get yours today. Kim?
As a reminder, please use the chat button to ask any questions. Send your queries to Chamber Host and we will verbally ask the question at the appropriate time. I'm excited to introduce our County Supervisor, Karen Spiegel, to provide us with an update on vaccines and the county's case rate. Karen's unique passion for service and leadership in regional transportation issues, as well as regional partnerships and collaborations, make her a wonderful and energetic member of the community. She sets an example for us all with her roll-up-your-sleeves servant heart, which has led her to immerse herself in many civic, business, and community activities. Please welcome Karen Spiegel.
Well, good morning. I always enjoy coming back to my hometown. Now that I have 5 cities, I can't say that Corona is my favorite, but it is my hometown. So I look forward to joining you when I can. There's a lot going on. And, you know, we're had almost a year now of talking about COVID on a regular basis. With that being said, COVID has changed the way we do everything, from the time how we work, how we, entertain with our families, our kids in school. It really has dominated. So we have to at least follow. And I know that it consumes us at times, but for right now, we have positive stuff going on. And I want to share some of the positive stuff going on. So next slide. Okay, vaccines is the top topic lately. And that is because we have turned the corner. We've gotten our case rates down. And the last thing is to get vaccines so that we can have some protection. So we are expecting about 57,000 doses countywide this week. That is an unusually high number. We've been fighting to get our fair share of the vaccines. You may have heard that we do get a lower amount than per capita we should be. So we're fighting. Whatever reason we got the 57,000 coming in this week, I'm not going to complain. We're going to take it. So the first 32,000 will be at our public health vaccination clinics. And that's really important to know because the county does not solely give the vaccines. We have partnered with over 150 organizations, providers. That's medical offices, that's some of your, Albertsons and some of your grocery stores. There's Walgreens, there's several places that you can. But they're all approved through the state as medical partners in the giving of the vaccines. The remainder of the 57,000, which would be about 25,000, will be going to our partners. So there is not just the one spot on county sites to get your vaccine. There are other locations that you can. On our website, there's a link to find those other locations, but the main ones we focus on the county website is those county public health vaccination clinics. Next slide. So on Monday, we opened 16,000 new first dose vaccination appointments. And sorry to say, but most of those have already been filled. They were released through our website. And then today, we're going to have the second dose appointments for those that received the first dose at a county site and who are looking for a second dose. And those will be given through the location that they get the email from. So you can't register for a second dose. You will be sent an email, and from that email, you'll click into where you register for that second dose. So next slide. It goes so quick.
Karen, can you limit your video?
What do you mean?
Somehow you're freezing up. So go ahead and try now.
Okay.
On the eligibility, go ahead with that.
Okay. Okay, the eligibility criteria has changed. In the beginning, we had a delay on able to get appointments because there were so many people who jumped when we first opened for vaccines. Well, we have this problem too because we've now expanded for any person working in phase 1A and 1B, tier 1 sectors. And now we've added all healthcare workers, long-term care residents, agriculture and food service, including restaurants and grocery stores, and education, which is our teachers and anybody with the schools, childcare and emergency services. This is all in addition to our still focusing on our 65 plus individuals. So this is why there was such an increase. When you've got a county of 2.5 million and we have barely hit over 300,000 vaccines, it's very challenging to make sure that we can get all of our vaccines. But we're working very hard. Next slide. So in addition to our public health locations, our medical provider locations, we now are doing mobile vaccination teams. And we have 2 that are currently in use, and we're doing a third one this week. And we're focusing on those that are hard to reach, focusing on our senior communities, those that can't get in the car and drive to a location, so we're going to go to them. And then the 4th mobile vaccination team will launch within the next couple of weeks. And these are really important to get out to areas that don't have access, such as those of us that live in the middle of a city have more access than those that live in rural areas. And of course, the seniors that don't have the physical capability. So we're going to continue to focus on our mobile vaccination teams. Next. We have achieved, per the state standard, 5 consecutive days below 25 positive cases per 100,000. This now allowed our schools to reopen in accordance with state approval. Now, there's a whole process that we just don't say, yes, you can open. They have to do a whole plan, and we do the plan, we secure it, we go through it with them, and then the final approval is when we send it to the state. And they have to make sure all the criteria that the state has set out, the schools all know ahead of time, and how they're going to make those accommodations to keep the teachers safe, our students safe. And we're excited because Corona Norco is one of the schools going back, and the students are starting back on Monday. And my understanding is they're modified schedules. So if you've got a child in the school district, it's not going to be back to the regular drop the kids off at 8:30 in the morning and pick them up at 3. That's not the way it's going to be. So make sure you check your school. I'm sure information will be going out. So I'm very excited about that. I know some people aren't, but there is an option. If you're not wanting your children to go back, there is an option to continue the virtual. So make sure you check with that if you're not happy to have your kids go back. So March 1st, and that's going to be with modifications. We're also projecting to below the 14,000 per 100,000 case rate this week. And this was, to me, exciting. That's going to allow for our youth sports to begin competing. Now, there's still no tournaments or travel sports because it's larger gatherings. Tournaments bring in more people. We're trying to get the gatherings down, but at least we get our kids back outside playing and having the opportunity to have some social and getting that physical activity, which is critical for our youngsters. Next. So this is as of the 22nd. It's 2 days off. I haven't gotten the current one. So as of the 22nd, our raw case rate is 16.2 per 100,000. And the adjusted case rate is 17.8. And what the adjusted case rate means is that the state has included in their criteria that we recognize some of our inequitable places that have more of the rural, they have lower income and not access to healthcare, they don't have access to some of the things that we take for granted. So that's where they want us to combine. The adjusted case rate is the raw score with those communities that have the criteria of less advantages than the rest of the. So ours has really gotten very close, from 16.2 to 17.8. That's a discrepancy, but not as bad as it was in the beginning, because we've really worked hard to meet the needs in those communities to make it more equitable. Our overall positivity rate is still a little bit high, 7.6%, and our health equity positivity is 8.3%, and that gap is closing too. We still need everyone to continue to test. That is a state guideline. That's not our guideline. So we still need testing to go on. We're currently, we've dropped, we were higher before, but we're still at 361.4 tests per 100,000. That is the criteria that's going to help us get to opening businesses too. And that's a key piece. So, you know, please encourage the testing. I know what's happening is as people get vaccinated, they're feeling they don't need to be tested. We still need testing going on in our communities. We still need to make sure we have control over this virus. We're getting much better. We're getting, I don't want to say out of the clear, because we still have to maintain the distance and sanitize, wash our hands, and of course, wear masks. Next. Well, with that, I'm going to leave it to see if there's any questions. Hopefully we can answer. You know, I always like to look at things in a positive way, look to the future. You know, we can sit here and dwell on how many things have happened over this past year, how many businesses, and yes, we have to learn from that, but we can't hold us back. So let us continue to be cognizant of that, continue to recognize that some businesses still need our help. We're not open yet, and when we do open, per the state, they will be at 25% capacity. We need to be out there supporting. I know it's a little more costly than cooking at home. I've told my husband I'm so spoiled now. We now see what's for dinner, and then everybody calls out a restaurant rather than saying, let's cook this or cook that. It's like, which restaurant are we going to bring home tonight? So that's going to be a hard thing for me to go back to. Maybe I won't. Is that okay, Bobby? So with that, I want to see if there's any more questions, and I'm always happy to answer.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Spiegel, for that update. Stephanie, do we have any questions?
Yes, we have a few. First question, what jurisdiction does the county have over schools?
The only jurisdiction we have is the public health information controlling the criteria that allows the schools open. The decision on schools, whether they open, when they open, how they open, is solely upon the school board. So our public health director has to approve how they want to do it. So people always assume the county has that, but we really don't. All we have is the ability to make sure that the criteria is met.
Thank you. Sorry, I was muting somebody. Next question. With the available amount of open space that we have in our community, can you encourage the governor to use common sense in understanding that events like gatherings, youth sports, etc., could happen with enough social distancing?
Believe me, we have been trying. I am an advocate for our kids being out there. It's really seeming to be unfair that our adults, who actually have more effect from this virus than our kids, and our kids are being told they can't go and engage in sports. So we have been advocating for it, and I totally agree. But you know, it's one of those things, until they allow that, we can keep advocating, but we can't allow it. And understand, when we say that, it's the same thing with the businesses. I would love to tell everybody, it's okay, Riverside County's open your businesses. But the key fact is, we didn't close the businesses, so we can't open. And with that being said, if you have a state license and you open, maybe Riverside County says, okay, open, we have no control if the state's going to come back and take your state license. And they have done that on a couple occasions. So I have no desire to give a false sense of hope that you can open your business. So I have to go along with the guidelines of the state. All we can do is keep pushing back and keep saying, we want to open, what can we do? You know, this is not fair to our kids. We have now far exceeded public health versus our mental health, behavioral health, and most importantly, financial health. We're going to have quite a long time of our kids who haven't been in school for over a year, and it's going to be a while before we heal from this. But we have to do it, work hard, work together, and we will get through this.
Thank you. Next question. With so many infected people, will the test pick up the antibodies?
Well, there's a special test to pick up the antibodies. And they say that the antibodies stay in your system at least 90 days. Beyond that, we don't have a whole lot of background on how long it will stay. Just to let you know, my daughter Tanya gives plasma and platelets almost every week. And that is because her antibodies still are showing in her system. And we had the virus back in July. So sometimes it stays longer than other times. And, you know, there's no playbook. And that's the most important thing for all of us to understand. There's no rule book, no playbook. There's nothing to quantify and explain what's going on. And I know that everybody says, well, this is the right answer, or this is the right answer. And, you know, it's hard to say because it's not black and white.
Thank you. How does the county determine where the mobile vaccination teams should visit?
Well, we focus on, as I mentioned earlier, we try and give equity in those communities that don't have access. And our focus is seniors. We really want to make sure our seniors have the opportunity. Remember, not everybody, I'm sure people on this call, there are many of you who are choosing not to be vaccinated. We can't hold you down and do it. I'm not going to say that we're going to, but that gives people a choice. And we want to make sure that those that are choosing to have the opportunity. And our seniors tend to have a higher choice now. They weren't at first, but now that they're showing that the reactions aren't as bad as everybody thought they were. You know, some people have Usually the second dose seems to be more difficult, but even that's usually in a day it's gone. So the mobile vans are done through determination by our public health staff that have found areas that have a high lack of vaccination in that community.
Thank you, Supervisor Spiegel. We have a few more questions, but we need to close the Q&A for now. I'm going to put them in the general chat if you wouldn't mind answering them after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you again, Supervisor Spiegel. A few swag bags and VIP boxes are still left in advance of tomorrow's virtual installation and awards gala. We will install our new board of directors and present awards to some incredible businesses and individuals. I will also be sharing my vision as your 2021 board chair. Use the bit.ly link in the upper right corner of the image on the screen to register for your ticket.
The Chamber app is now available. It's a new mobile app that can be used for both Android and Apple devices. You can post promotions for your business. You can see job openings, find out what is happening with the Chamber and more. Download it now and start accessing these new features, and you won't miss anything going on in the Chamber, and you will see what we can do for you. Download it today.
The Chamber's annual Golf Classic will be Thursday, May 27th at the beautiful Eagle Glen Golf Club. This premier tournament provides an elevated golfing experience that you won't want to miss. This year's tournament is held in partnership with AFE Power. We will also honor active duty military by inviting them to join the tournament. Every 40 opportunity tickets allows one military personnel to golf. Contact the Chamber today for more information and to secure your foursome. Discounted pricing is available until March 20th, but we expect it to sell out before then, so don't delay.
These business briefing calls that we put on every week are here to help our members. And if you happen to be on this call, but you're still not a member of the Corona Chamber, or if you know a neighboring business that would find benefit in being part of the Corona Chamber, please contact our membership specialist, Robert Yanez, to become part of the Chamber family. Meetings like these are just one of the many benefits to being a part of an active, thriving organization like the Corona Chamber of Commerce. We serve a regional landscape. We're not bound by any geographical limits. So everyone in this area is welcome and encouraged to join. We have incentives for both joining and referring members to our organization. Our chamber is growing, and the more members we have, the more impact we have, and will benefit the entire business community. So consider joining today or sending in those that you think should be a member over to Robert. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. At this time, I'd like to introduce our legislative advocate, Jeff Gibson. Jeff keeps a pulse on what's happening in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., allowing us to act timely on projects and initiatives that help make a difference in shaping our community. His knowledge of complex political issues and the great relationships he's built ensure the Corona Chamber has all the tools to be effective on behalf of you. Please help me welcome Jeff Gibson to share about SB 95 and AB 84. Jeff?
Good morning. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. Last week we talked about a bill that had no name, and we kind of had to describe the process in which it was being considered. It now has a bill number. It's SB 95 in the Senate, which means Senate Bill number 95, and AB 84, which is Assembly Bill 84. So all of the bill numbers are in that way. They're being sponsored in each of the houses by the budget chair. They're being considered under the budget as a early part of the budget. The budget usually happens in June. It's very, it's almost unprecedented. I'll say that. After having worked for 4 decades now in the state legislature, this would be the first time that I can remember that a budget bill was being considered, of this much import was being considered. The reason it's inappropriate to do this is because it takes effect immediately on a 50% vote, on a 50% plus 1 vote. All other bills in the legislature take effect. If they want to take effect immediately, they need the 2/3 vote. So this is going to be extremely difficult to beat. We're going to need all of your help. The bills specifically get into sick leave. They affect every employer, both public and private, in the state of California. And they will cost up to $5,100 per week per employee. Every single one of your employees would immediately, upon their declaring that they have been personally affected by COVID. That does not mean that they have it. That means that they could have gotten the vaccine. And like a very large number of people that are getting the vaccine have some short illness, they don't feel well, and that can take a couple days to get over. That often happens with other vaccines. It's a reaction that 10 to 12% of people who get vaccines get naturally. They would get full paid medical leave up to 80 hours. That does not count against their normal sick leave. So this is an addition. It does not count against the accrual time that they would have with you. They need to provide no medical evidence to you. For instance, if 1% of the employees in Corona were to take advantage of this, and these are just the privately employed people that would run Corona businesses $700,000 a week. It would run $9 million a week just for the county of Riverside. For private employers who have 1% of their employees go out sick. Obviously, that goes up substantially whenever something like this happens. You're looking at, in most cases, 10 to 12% of employees are calling in sick because of COVID. They're using normally through their normal employer's system. This is an addition to that. And so you could see that this is going to pile up very quickly. The governor, for instance, to help government agencies, because this also affects government workers. There are a substantial number of government workers, first line responders, who are electing not to get the vaccine. Because of their employment rules with their job, if they don't receive the vaccine, they have to go out on sick leave. I'm not making a case to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine. I'm describing to you a public policy problem. The problem that then comes in is that those people are either on personal leave or sick leave. And so this would basically save their sick leave for other opportunities. The governor has given $575 million in the upcoming budget for this bill for public agencies. That sounds like a very large amount of money. The state this year will spend $240 billion. So $575 million, while it's very large for almost anyone on this call, is budget dust when looking at the state budget. You can see that if private employers, even with 1%, not the normal 10% that we've been seeing on statewide for people going out sick, but 1%, we're at $9 million a week just in the Riverside. If you extrapolate that out to 10%, now you're looking at $90 million just for Riverside. The state of California is only putting in $575 million, despite it enforcing this rule on every local government, every local agency, every taxpayer, every business. And they're very specific about every business. You have an independent contractor, and you don't have a specific agreement with that independent contractor saying that they are independent of you, then you pay them. You are on the hook for 80 hours of sick pay. So be very careful about your response here. The bill currently is, again, going through the quote unquote budget process. So it's being considered in the budget committees. We are working with a very large group statewide. Again, every single business organization is in line against this. A number of local agencies are against this. And it's not because we don't recognize that COVID is a real thing and causing a huge amount of disruption in the community. It's that this is a $9 million a week minimum additional expense to every employer and every private employer. And you can double that for looking at government agencies in just the county of Riverside. So imagine what it looks like across the state. This is an additional cost of which there's been no financing or thought to who finances it other than employers. So the people in support are all the public employee unions and most of the trade unions as well. And so that's who we're facing off with. So really need you to speak to your legislators. Our legislators, Sabrina Cervantes and Richard Roth, are going to be key to this. It takes a 50% plus one vote. The majority caucus of Democrats hold 2/3 plus one. So there are, even if a number of the members of the majority caucus don't vote for this bill, they still have a number of votes. So this is not a good day. This is one of the worst bills that I've seen go through, and it is going through extremely quickly. So not that sick leave isn't an issue, but this is something that when they're capping the cost to business employers, and they're saying, oh, well, you can't pay employees more than $5,100 a week. There aren't a lot of people who are making $5,100 a week that are going out on sick leave and are paid hourly. I don't know many people who are paid $511 hourly who don't regularly show up for work. So you can see that there is basically no functioning cap for almost every employer in the state of California. So unfortunately, so going to our next slide. I don't even know if we have yep, there we go. So if we can go to the next slide for more fun things that will make Elaine Norland's day. And I pick on Elaine because she's right here next to in front of me on my screen with Bobby and Kim. So going to the federal relief package. So far, the federal government has spent about $17,000 per taxpayer, or actually per American resident, in COVID relief and aid packages. And we are about to celebrate 1 year in the of lockdowns under the pandemic. So whenever we get to that 2 weeks to flatten the curve, Bobby will let me know, and then I can let the kids back out in the yard. So, but so the cost so far is about $17,000. About $5,700. This bill that's being proposed, the $1.9 trillion package, will cost us an additional $5,700 per taxpayer. And for that amount, the average resident in the United States will receive $1,400. So we pay in $5,700, and we get back $1,400. We've put in $17,000 already. We've gotten back, on average, $2,200. So I think everyone could recognize that's about what you would get if you had booked a room at Caesar's Palace and taken your life savings there. So in terms of return, so we're not quite where we're shorting GameStop, but the return here is going to be extremely costly to us. We are taking this very seriously as a country, obviously. And so what we are doing is tracking for you where the status of this bill, the status of how the vaccination programs are going, because not because we're taking a side on to vaccinate or not, but that's because California, as the only state in the union, we are currently the only state in the union with no open public facilities, no museums open, no schools open, no. There was a crowd last night at the Knicks game in New York City, so I know New York is actually open. We are the only state that has decided to follow this path. Every other state, opening of schools is a settled issue, and so they are moving forward. So I'm confident that we can get this done too. But we're tracking it for you so that we can help you get your business open and help you make the business decisions that you need to make so that you can pay your employees when they decide to take 2 weeks off because they took the vaccine and had a bad reaction to it. Hopefully nothing happens there, but the vaccination coordination has been switched nationally from one that it was a public-private partnership into one that's being led by the traditional healthcare system and the public agency system. The rate of vaccinations nationally has slowed. It is no longer peaking. It's not longer good. Even though production of vaccines going way up, the rate of vaccinations is staying about the same. And as you can imagine, when supply goes up and the rate of use nationally stays the same, states are starting to run into problems where you're seeing vaccines go bad, other coordination. New York just announced that they had to redo several 100,000 vaccinations because the vaccines were out of date. They're going to be using a federal program to have that will be paid for out of the $1 trillion, the $1.9 trillion bill. That bill is up for hearing next week in Congress. It's going to go through a process which Congress swore on a bipartisan basis in 2015 never to use again, called reconciliation, which means that Congress doesn't actually even take a vote on the bill. It just becomes law because it has been proposed. It has a hearing in the House, it has a hearing in the Senate, and then it has a hearing of a joint committee of the House and the Senate that ends up voting on it on behalf of their colleagues, and then gets sent to the president. The president is planning on signing this sometime in mid-March, and relief checks will be going to supposedly all of us sometime in early July. There's obviously an issue within that, in that everything is supposed to be open by then. So it will be nice to get the relief, but again, it arrives after this has hopefully, we have been told, and we're reporting it to you, that we will be open nationally by this coming May. So don't know if we have to wear masks or anything like that. I'm just passing along to you what's in the bill and why they're coming up with the dates that they're coming up with, so that it just doesn't seem like there's no context for these things, which makes it difficult for you to make your business decisions. So that's where we are. The bill is pretty much set in Congress, and there isn't going to be much debate over it, other than a couple different items. But happy to take some questions and if there are any, or if I've stunned you into silence or submission.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for bringing this information to our group each and every week. Stephanie, do we have any questions for Jeff?
Yeah, actually, just a couple of brief ones. The first one is, you mentioned us outreaching to our elected officials. What is, in your opinion, the best way for us to reach Senator Roth and Assemblymember Cervantes?
Just a phone call. The easiest way for you to reach out is to call their offices, and call their offices directly and issue your opinion. Just name, phone number, and your opinion up or down. SB 95 is a key bill. This is going to be and while it's specific to COVID-19, it's also specific to emergency orders. So there may be orders that, while our businesses are open, just as you guys, let's just say 1776 until last March, there were hundreds and thousands of emergency orders that were issued. Floods, fires, all these different pieces of the puzzle. Most of the recovery packages that are being passed out of Sacramento and Washington, D.C. are specific to the issuance of emergency orders. So getting you back to work is one of the challenges. Getting the packages to only be key to during the lockdown is another big portion of this fight. Because if there are emergency orders that are dealing with government policy, it's unclear. And now that this has been spotlighted for the legislature and the legislature decides not to do anything about it, there's a reason. And the reason is they're comfortable generally with allowing it to be emergency orders. If it's emergency orders, then as long as there's a governor's emergency order for any purpose, for instance, dealing with COVID-19, then this sick leave bill is active. And while you would think, well, my employees don't know that, or I trust my employees, that's not always going to be the case, unfortunately. So.
Thank you, Jeff. There is one last question, but due to time, I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Jeff. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce Jeff Miller and Mark Peabody to today's meeting. Jeff is a longtime friend of the Chamber. He formerly served our community in many roles, including Corona City Council member for 8 years, as mayor of Corona, as well as assembly member for 4 years. He is a small business owner with his own insurance practice, and he has been a key member of our legislative outreach, assisting the Chamber to be at the top of its game. Mark has served on the Corona Chamber Board of Directors since 2012, including chairman in 2016. He is the CEO of Peabody Engineering and Supply, a manufacturer and distributor of tanks, telecommunication disguising equipment, and other various plastic products. He is a great asset to our community, and we are happy to have him on today's call. Jeff, take it away.
Thank you, Kim. Can everybody hear me? And Mark, are you on?
I'm on and I can hear you.
Okay, good. Let's do it. First of all, I want to thank Jeff Gibson for that report. You know, over the last 2 weeks, his reports have forced me to remove all sharp objects away from my desk because I don't know. It's California is hard to understand year by year. So the board, Kim and Bobby and Jeff, asked me to host a monthly 3-question briefing with a member of our community and important members of our community. And today I'm thrilled to have Mark Peabody. Mark is a native Southern Californian, longtime Corona resident, entrepreneur with a heart for service to the community. He currently serves as Chief Executive Officer of Peabody Engineering and Supply, where he has worked for over 40 years. Peabody Engineering received the Manufacturer of the Year Award from the Chamber of Commerce in 2013. The Inland Empire's Top Workplace Award from the Riverside Press Enterprise in 2014, and was in the top 10 again from 2015 to 2019. He also won the award in 2015 for the Cal State State University of San Bernardino's Spirit of the Entrepreneur Award in the Family Business category. He was honored as a Rotary Hero in 2017 by the district governor, and he was also recognized by the U.S. Small Business Administration as Family Business of the Year in 2018. He was also honored in 2018 by the American Diabetes Association as Father of the Year. In 2019, Mark and his wife Cheryl were honored by the Corona Norco Family YMCA with the Ira Calvert Distinguished Service Award for their passion for and involvement in our great community. And that's for Yolanda, who's on the call. Thank you, Yolanda. And he continues to serve on the Chamber Board, as Kim pointed out. His hobbies include gardening, cooking, collecting wine, hiking, and scuba diving. Okay, wow. Mark, I don't know how you do all this.
I'm tired.
Well, great. Well, let's get right into it. You know, most of us on the call are familiar with you and Peabody Engineering. but some might not know how your company was started and the type of products you actually manufacture and services you provide. Can you share some information on your products sold? And additionally, what were the reasons you moved the company to Corona?
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff, for that long introduction. We at Peabody Engineering, we're a family business, a second generation. My brother and I bought the company from our father in 1982. He's a World War II veteran. He's still kicking at 95 years old. So I'm blessed to have strong genes there, and hopefully all last as long. Peabody Engineering has two operating units. The first is the manufacture of water and chemical storage tanks and related equipment through a process that's called rotational molding. We have three large molding machines that are like a carousel. It has three rotating arms that mount hollow clamshell molds, and we charge them with powdered plastic material that looks like powdered laundry detergent. And those molds are then rotated on dual axes to create a 360-degree rotation and moved into a gigantic oven at around 650 degrees. These ovens are big enough you could drive your car into. And as the material melts, it coats the inside of that mold, and that creates the tank or the other product. Something that you're mostly familiar with is your trash cans you put out for your waste. That's a rotational molded product. So once those are molded in the oven, they're taken out, cooled, and emptied out, and then recharged for the next cycle. The tanks we make are FDA approved for water and food products, pharmaceuticals, and extremely chemical resistant for storage of harsh chemicals used in water treatment and manufacturing processes. And our tanks are sold through a national network of distributors like Grainger, for example. Our other division manufactures composite fiberglass enclosures that hide cellular phone antennas on buildings by matching the architectural details of a particular building. Our materials have RF properties that make them favorable for carriers to hide their antennas because it doesn't degrade the radio signal and you don't get a dropped call. The enclosures we make last about 15 or 20 years, and we can make them look like anything, any building texture or detail, so they're virtually undetectable. We've made enclosures that look like everything you can imagine, including brick walls, Spanish tile roofs, clock towers, old wooden water tanks, and even a big boulder on top of a hill. The one thing we don't make are those ugly fake palm trees and pine trees. That's our competition. We moved to Corona from Gardena, California in 2002 for two reasons. One, we were growing and needed more space. And two, Gardena was kind of in the middle of all the rioting and crime we saw back in the 90s with the whole Rodney King and the Watts riots and all that. And we just didn't feel safe there anymore. And we wanted to work and live in a place that offered a better quality of life for us and our employees. And after a thorough search, we settled in on Corona, and we've never looked back.
Great, great. So it's no secret that last year was challenging for most all businesses. How did COVID affect your operation? What were some of the obstacles you encountered? How did you deal with them? And then secondarily, this is a little more than questions, sorry. What does the future look like for Peabody Engineering?
That's a lot of stuff. I hope I remember it all. Since Peabody's tank products are used in maintaining water quality in hospitals and municipalities, and our telecommunications enclosures are used for infrastructure, we're considered an essential business. So we were not required to close our doors, and we remained operational throughout the pandemic, and we remain open today. We were fortunate to have been able to keep everyone we have employed. After Jeff's news, I don't know if I can continue that, but we even hired more people though during this time in an effort to meet the demand for our products in this critical time in history. We did our best to follow the ever-changing CDC and Cal OSHA guidelines to keep our people safe from exposure by doing all we could in terms of social distancing, wearing masks when working in close proximity to others, closure of our break room and common meeting areas, enhanced disinfection and cleaning measures, and keeping our people informed about all the programs and information available if they or their loved ones contracted the virus. Since March, we had 3 people out of 43 who had symptoms or were exposed to the virus. 2 tested positive, but were asymptomatic for the most part. But they were sent home nonetheless and quarantined for 14 days. The main thing I focused on during this whole time, other than keeping my business going, was being sensitive to everyone and speaking regularly with each of our people. It's been a very emotional time and a scary time for some. You know, in these past months, everyone has their opinions and ideas. They all react differently to crises. And with all the negative news we've had this past year, there's a diversity of thought and opinions about virtually everything. I don't even want to get into a conversation sometimes with people because everyone has their opinion and they are convinced that that is correct. I've strived to be positive, to respect everyone's opinions, and just to be kind and calm and be a blessing to others. I have very strong opinions about what's happening in today's world, as I'm sure the rest of you do. But the work environment, in my opinion, is a place where people need to be united, productive, and positive. And that's been my focus.
Great.
Peabody
Yeah,
held.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Peabody held their own in 2020 throughout all this. And it was supposed to be a growth year for us, but it wasn't. But we did manage well in the crisis, and we ended up with a small profit last year. And we're poised for growth once we return to some degree of normalcy. I guess that's going to be May. We anticipate a surge in sales this year due to all the delayed projects in 2020 that have to be completed and that couldn't have been completed because of all of the lockdowns and all that. But we're seeing an inflationary cycle right now as supplies of raw materials are low and demand is high. And we're getting price increases on all of our materials pretty much every month. Like 5-6% a month stuff is going up. You don't only see that at the pumps, you're going to see that everywhere, I'm afraid. Looking forward, we have plans. In 2018, we began looking for an East Coast expansion. And as fate would have it, the pandemic hit right square in the middle of our plans. That slowed us down, but it didn't stop us though. So I heard someone say one time that you should never let a crisis go to waste. And we didn't. We moved forward. And today I'm happy to report that Peabody will soon be breaking ground on a second state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Liberty, South Carolina, where we will do all the same things we do here in Corona, but a little bit closer to our customers east of the Mississippi so we can serve them better.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. And lastly, one of the many things the Chamber does and does well is advocate for legislation or oppose legislation or ballot initiatives that help our business community. And I know when I served in Sacramento, you used to come up with the Chamber and walk the halls of the Capitol, and it was always a joy for me to have everybody up there. Can you tell the membership how important it is for the Chamber to support or oppose certain bills pertaining maybe specifically to manufacturing? And what can the city or state do to encourage more manufacturing in California?
Well, I'm a big advocate of what the Chamber does, Jeff, as far as advocacy. I think everybody that just listen to Jeff Gibson understand how critical that is. I love Jeff, but he's really depressing. California was once a manufacturing powerhouse, which led the state economy. And it was the basic reason why California became such an economic giant in the world. Over the past 20 to 30 years, however, the state's legislature has made one poor decision after another that has fatally hurt the manufacturing sector. There's too much regulation, fees, permits, and government interference in California, making it very challenging to stay competitive in a global economy. I'm not saying that manufacturers should be given free rein to pollute or be irresponsible. Most aren't. But government should be advocates for business and come alongside companies to help them be both responsible and successful. Somewhere they missed that memo. A few years back, I had the privilege to speak to one of our state senators, and I asked him why Sacramento doesn't do a better job supporting and preserving our manufacturing base as the backbone of the state's economy. His response was that California is no longer a manufacturing state, but is more focused on the service industry and technology. I guess he just doesn't get the fact that manufacturing is the backbone of the economy. And if you don't have that, there's nobody to service. Well, these past 3 to 5 years, we've seen a huge exodus of companies as a result from our state to other states where the cost of doing business is lower and they can be more competitive in the market. California will soon realize that chasing companies away like Tesla, Oracle, Toyota, and even little guys like Peabody Engineering will have grave consequences for the state's future. The Corona Chamber's Legislative Action Committee engages not only with Sacramento lawmakers, but Washington, D.C., and even city and county decision makers, and lets them know when they oppose a job-killing or regressive proposition that is introduced by legislature, and also promotes legislation that helps businesses, our community, and our state's future. They give a voice to the over 800 businesses who are members with regard to how we should run our affairs in Sacramento and Washington. And in my opinion, this is the best thing that the Corona Chamber does. It's also worth noting the Corona Chamber is recognized as a leader in legislation advocacy across the state and nation. The Chamber sponsors annual trips to both Sacramento and Washington, D.C., as you mentioned, Jeff. And those trips are opportunities to meet face-to-face with our elected officials and leaders in government, where we can have a voice personally in how government is done. I've had the opportunity and pleasure to go on several of these trips, and I can't endorse them more highly. If possible, I encourage everyone on this call to go at least one time to one of these eye-opening excursions. It's really a trip of a lifetime. The city of Corona and the county of Riverside have a responsibility to support and defend our manufacturers and all other businesses in our region against government overreach in Sacramento and DC. We need to stick together and have a unified voice against those whose goal is to undermine the welfare of the great entrepreneurs and community leaders who continue to work hard and put it all on the line to protect our great culture and legacy as we all share as Californians. The Corona Chamber is a great vehicle for all of us to collectively get that job done.
Wow. Okay. I think I'll turn it back to the host to see if there are any questions of Mark. Stephanie?
Thank you. And congratulations, Mark, on expanding your business. It seems like there's a lot of exciting things happening for Peabody Engineering, and can't wait to see what happens next for you all.
Thank you.
First question, how many people do you employ at your facility?
We currently have 46 people here, but I don't look at those as just the 46 people that are here. I look at those as 46 families that we support. And we plan on hiring about another 20 for our South Carolina facility.
Wonderful. Last question, from a site selection perspective, what made you choose South Carolina?
Well, interesting question. We went on about a 5-year search to find the right place, and the default is Texas. And so we went to Texas first and looked around, and although they had good incentives, it just didn't seem right. South Carolina just is a manufacturing friendly state. All that stuff I was talking about that our state senator doesn't get, they totally get. They get behind their manufacturers and they support them. They have a low tax base. They have all sorts of incentives. They have a great culture, working culture back there. And you know, they want to make stuff, and they want companies to come out there that can team up with the other companies that are in South Carolina, like BMW, Michelin Tires, General Electric, Northrop. There's just amazing companies have made South Carolina a manufacturing powerhouse, and it's just it's an awesome place to work, and it's got a great quality of life and culture. And that's why we chose it.
Wow, you're selling me on a visit.
have some openings.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. That's all the questions we received today. Appreciate you
Okay,
sharing
Mark,
with us.
Mark,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so much. Mark, thanks so much. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Give our best to Cheryl and the kids, and you're a new granddad now, right?
Yep, I have a little 2-year-old granddaughter named Shelby, and I have little Grady on the way. He's due July 27th. So my
Nice.
second grandchild, and going to carry on the Peabody name. So excited about that.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much. And we're looking forward to our future with you and good things to happen in the future.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you, Jeff and Mark, for sharing that with us. Donnie, you want to talk about our sponsor again?
Once again, we'd like to thank today's sponsor, Norco College. Norco College serves over 16,000 students in our local community and has been named a top institution for veterans. Learn more at norcocollege.edu, and don't forget to take advantage of those great business courses we mentioned earlier. And just to underscore our great relationship with Norco College at the Corona Chamber, the president of Norco College, Monica Green, does serve on the Corona Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. So thank you again to Norco College.
And if you would like to sponsor a future business briefing, please contact Bobby. Register now to join us next Wednesday for more advocacy news. Thank you again for everyone for attending. Our meeting is adjourned.